Welcome back. In the last video, you met your four architects. Now you're going to learn how to recognize them in real time, in your thoughts, in your decisions, in the moment when choices are being made. By the end of this video, you will be able to identify which architect is speaking just by listening to the language, noticing the feeling, and recognizing what is being valued. Here's what makes this practical. Each architect has a signature, a way of speaking, a quality of feeling, a set of values that it prioritizes. Once you know these signatures, recognition becomes instant. You'll hear yourself think something and you'll immediately know, oh, that is my reactive architect, or that is my external architect speaking. And that instant of recognition, that is where your choice begins. Let's start with the inherited architect. Here's how you recognize it. The language the inherited architect uses sounds like this. This is how it's done. People like me don't. The right way too. I should. That's just not realistic for someone in my position. You hear words like should, proper, traditional, established, responsible, normal, expected. The values prioritized are stability and continuity, proven approaches and wisdom, responsibility to others, connection to lineage and tradition, building on solid foundations. The feeling it creates is grounded, secure, connected, sometimes constrained or obligated, a sense of this is the sensible path, safety in the familiar. When your inherited architect speaks, you feel anchored, but sometimes also limited by how things are supposed to be. Now, the reactive architect. The language the reactive architect uses sounds like this. What if it doesn't work out? I can't risk that happening again. Remember what happened last time. I need to protect myself from. That feels too vulnerable. You hear words like careful, safe, protect, risk, danger, prepare, prevent, what if. The values it prioritizes are safety and security, learning from experience, protection of what matters, realistic preparation, and sustainable pacing. The feeling that creates is alert, cautious, aware, sometimes anxious or contracted, a sense of intelligent wariness, protective instinct activated. When your reactive architect speaks, you feel protected, but sometimes also held back from necessary growth or risk. Next, the external architect. The language the external architect uses sounds like this. What will people think? How will this look? Everyone expects me to. This would be impressive. I need to maintain my reputation. You hear words like image, perception, networking, influence, connections, opportunity, impression, status. The values it prioritizes are social intelligence and connection, strategic positioning, contribution and influence, reputation and credibility, beneficial relationships. The feeling created is socially aware, strategically engaged, sometimes performing or people-pleasing, a sense of how am I being received, connection-seeking energy. When your external architect speaks, you feel socially intelligent, but sometimes also disconnected from what you authentically want. And finally, there's the authentic architect. The language the authentic architect uses sounds like this. What do I actually want? Ooh, this feels deeply right. This doesn't align with my values. I have to do this. I can't explain why. This is so me, or this isn't me at all. You hear words like true, aligned, resonant, meaningful, genuine, integrity, my values, feels right. The values it prioritizes are inner alignment and integrity, values-based choices, authentic expression, personal meaning, natural resonance. The feeling it creates is centered, clear, expansive, sometimes uncertain how to explain to others, a sense of this is deeply right, connected to your core. When your authentic architect speaks, you feel aligned, but sometimes also at odds with external expectations or practical constraints. Four completely different signatures, four completely different ways of experiencing a decision, and you have access to all four. Now, let me show you how to recognize these signatures in a real situation, and watch how the same moment looks completely different depending upon which architect is active. Here is the scenario. A friend invites you to an event. It's a networking dinner with people you don't know well, and a field adjacent to yours. You have an immediate reaction. Let's see what that reaction reveals about which architect is speaking. If your inherited architect responds, you might think, is this the kind of thing that people in my position do? What's the appropriate response? I should probably go. It's good to maintain these friendships. This is what professionals do. You're checking against established patterns and social norms. You're asking, what's the responsible, appropriate choice here? If your reactive architect responds first, will I know anyone there? What if it's awkward and I can't leave easily? I didn't sleep well last night. I might not have the energy for this. What if I say something wrong? You are assessing risks and energy capacity. You're asking, is this safe? Can I handle this? Do I have adequate resources? If your external architect responds first, this could be a great opportunity to expand my network. Who else is going? This could lead to interesting connections. What should I wear to make the right impression? You're reading the social field and strategic value. You're asking, what opportunities does this create? How do I position myself well? If your authentic architect responds first, well, do I actually want to go? Does this sound energizing or draining? Am I saying yes because I want to or because I think I should? What feels true here? You're checking your genuine desire and alignment. You're asking, what do I really want? What feels right to me? Same invitation for completely different experiences of the same moment. And here's what's important. None of these is wrong. The inherited architect's concern about appropriateness, valid. The reactive architect's assessment of energy and risk, valid. The external architect's awareness of opportunity, valid. The authentic architect's question about genuine desire, valid. Each one sees something real. Let's do one more. You're considering a creative project, maybe starting a podcast or writing something, creating a business. Watch the 4 architects respond. Inherited, do I have the credentials for this? Is this a practical use of my time? What will my family think? People in my position usually don't do this kind of thing. The reactive, what if I fail publicly? What if no one cares? I don't have time for this with everything else going on. What if I start and can't finish? External, could this build my professional brand? Who would be interested? How would this position me in my field? What's the market for this? The authentic, I'm so excited about this idea. This feels like what I'm meant to create. I can't stop thinking about it. This would be deeply meaningful to me. Do you see how different they are? You can probably already tell which architect you hear most frequently in your own thinking. And that recognition, that's exactly what you're building. So how do you develop this recognition muscle? How do you get good at instantly identifying which architect is active? Well, here is your practice. For the next week, you're going to practice recognition without judgment. Here's what that means. You're not going to change which architect speaks. You're not trying to be balanced. You're not judging yourself for having a primary pattern. You're simply building the capacity to notice. When you're about to make a decision, or when you notice you're just made one, pause for 5 seconds and use the 3 recognition markers. 1. Listen to the language. What words am I using? What phrases do I hear should? What if they'll think or feels right? 2. Notice what's being valued. Am I prioritizing stability, safety, connection, alignment? What matters most in this choice? 3. Feel the quality. What's the sensation in my body? Is it grounded, alert, socially aware, or centered? These 3 markers will tell you which architect is active. Start simple. Practice with small decisions this week. What you choose for lunch. How you respond to a text message. Whether you accept an invitation. What you do with a free hour. And just notice, oh, that's my inherited architect choosing that reliable restaurant. That's my reactive architect saying no to protect my energy. That's my external architect crafting a response that maintains the relationship. That's my authentic architect choosing what I genuinely want to do. No judgment, no changing, just recognition. Because here's what happens. When you can see which architect is speaking, you suddenly have a choice about whether that's the right architect for that particular decision. Before recognition, your inherited architect makes all the choices and you don't even know it. After recognition, you can say, "Oh, thank you, inherited architect. That is good information. Let me also check my authentic architect about what I actually want here." That is the power of recognition. That's where freedom begins. And now you know the signatures of all four architects. You know how to recognize them in real time. And you have your practice for this week: recognition without judgment. In the next video, we're going to talk about why you have a primary pattern, why you naturally rely on one or two architects more than others, and why that's actually a strength when you use it consciously. You're going to learn the difference between being unconsciously controlled by your primary architect and consciously using it as a tool. For now, practice recognition. Build that muscle. Start seeing which architect designs your decisions. All right, I will see you in the next one.